Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So wonderful to see you. Aren't we fortunate to have such a beautiful sunny day after like 4 days of snow? I feel a lot of God's love. I had something I was going to say, and I already forgot it, but that's okay. We'll get started. So a couple of weeks ago, we launched a sermon series on the fruits of the Spirit. And the idea of the fruits of the Spirit comes from this verse. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. And in this section of the Bible, it's talking about how there's the fruits of the acts and the fruits of the flesh. Now, if we are just thinking about ourselves and what we want and instant gratification, there are things that we lean towards, and there are things that show up in our lives which many times are not good in the long run. However, if we focus on our relationship with God and the love of God, then there's a different kind of result or a fruit in our life, such as these. And just like a tree produces fruit when it is mature, as our faith matures, as we go through our life of faith, as we develop our relationship with God, and within that, as we develop our relationship with other people in our life, within that relationship with God, then there are certain qualities that we would just naturally embody as a result, right? There should be evidence of our faith, not just being able to recite scriptures or logically explain God or faith, but the most telling evidence of a life of faith should be these qualities that are displayed in real life. So today I'm going to be going into two of these topics, love and joy. And this is actually from the same chapter in Galatians, where Jesus says, the only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. And this is from the Divine Principle. Nope, that's not. I think I have to skip through a number of, here it is. Love is truly the source and wellspring of our life and happiness. Although God created human beings based on the principle, he governs us through love. Accordingly, in order for love to fulfill its proper role, its power must be stronger than the power of the principle. If the power of love were weaker than the power of the principle, God could not govern human beings through love. Rather, we would pursue the principle more than the love of God. For this reason, Jesus tried to raise his disciples through the truth, but it was his love that saved them. It's almost cliche, but it's like love is everything. That's the way God created us, to be governed through love, that what draws us forward in life, the only thing that really makes us want to get up in the morning is to experience and give and receive love. As I mentioned in the introductory message of the series, sometimes these words like love and joy and peace can, I don't know, I feel like they're kind of cliche words. Sometimes they feel a little bit dry, or we hear them a lot, or hollow, or we feel a little bit jaded about these kinds of words. Because our experiences with love or with patience or humility maybe they weren't true experiences. Maybe we've had twisted versions of these words in our life. Or we feel them come and go based on the circumstances that we're in. And it's hard to really feel that this is something that's substantial or real or that I have any control over. So what I want to go into today is that these words, and especially love and joy, I think many times without God guiding and being the center of our life, we experience them on a fluctuating basis. Love comes and goes. If somebody gives me a gift, I feel love. Or if somebody, whatever your love language is, if somebody gives me high praises, I'm a words of affirmation person, and I feel loved. Or if things go right the way I want them to go, I got the promotion at work, I got accepted into the school that I wanted, I was creating a project and it turned out the way I wanted, then I feel joy. But those things don't always happen, right? Sometimes maybe we want love from somebody a certain way and it doesn't come the way we want it. Or maybe we're hoping to achieve some level of success and we fail at it and we don't feel joy. So what I want to kind of propose in this message is that a better determination of when I feel love and joy is not the things that I have or the circumstances that I'm in, but my connection with God and the people that God has put in my life. I can say with confidence that when I'm feeling connected to the people in my life, when for example, when I'm, before bed and Mike and I are talking and we're just connecting in heart about our worries, our hopes, something funny that happened during the day or something, and it's like I am just myself. I'm not perfect, but I'm sharing who I am, and my husband is doing the same, and there's no judgment, there's no fear. It's like that. It's almost like a tangible, warm glow of connection that comes through that. And when we have those moments, it's like I can let go of the stressors that might have happened during the day or what might be troubling me in the environment. I remember when COVID first hit, right? And we didn't have church for like 3 or 4 months, and schools were all shut down, and we didn't see anybody for a long time, and there was, I think all of us are probably like, what's happening, right? Like, when is this ever going to end? When are we going to be able to do things the way that we want to do them? And I remember Mike and I would take long walks around Sloan's Lake. I lost a lot of weight. It's like 2.1 miles to go around Sloan's Lake. And we would go like 3 times a week and walk around Sloan's Lake. And we just talk. And it was in those times when I really felt like I don't know what's going to happen in the world, and I have very little control over that, but I have you, and we're going to go through it together, and everything is going to be okay, somehow, right? Even if things may not go the way I want, or maybe the circumstances don't turn out the way I want them to, we have each other, and we are okay, right? So this connection of heart with the people in our life, I really feel like also is actually just the beginning step of opening up a channel to God's love that is always there for us as well. I don't know if some of you listened to the podcast. Recently, I had a lot of people tell me they listened to this podcast I did. What's it called? Why I Joined. And the part that people continually mention to me, and actually I feel like is the only real value that I offered in it, is I had a very deep experience connecting to God in a new way. They were asking me something about like, well, how do you connect to God? What's your life of faith practice? And how much do you pray or read every day? And I was like, actually, it's really changed for me over the years, because I used to really focus on prayer as my way to connect to God. That was really what I felt like my little warm glow connection was. But actually, I feel like it's changed and developed in a really beautiful way now, where when we have those moments of my husband and I sharing and connecting, when I feel like it's almost like I'm saying the things I would say to God, but I'm saying them to my husband. And it's like God's love is enveloping both of us, and it's like a prayer when I'm talking to my husband. It's mind-blowing. I would never have thought that I could actually feel God's love in a more real and substantial way through talking to somebody than in going in prayer to God. So our connection of heart can open up a channel to God's love. And it brings God into substance in our life as well, because when we are reading and praying, right, these are crucial steps to developing a life of faith. I'm not saying not to do those things, but it's like a first step. When we're reading and praying, we're understanding something, we're connecting to God, but it's just like an individual connection. It's just me and God. But that doesn't necessarily mean that anything is going to change in my actual life until I bring others into that kind of relationship, until I experience God through my relationship with others. I feel like that's when God becomes real. And I think that I'm hoping that all of you can recognize moments in your life where you feel this like complete acceptance of who you are, with your faults, your good qualities, that God sees it all. And I hope you experience that in relationship with others. But I think also, like, just as we feel warm and fuzzy and connected when we have somebody in our life we can share that with, who do we resemble? Where do we come from? Why do we have this tendency? Because God feels the same way. And I think for God it is the same. When God feels, there's someone who can understand his heart. When God feels like there's somebody willing to listen to me, hear my story, understand what my hopes and dreams are, and be willing to like walk through that with me. What kind of love and joy does God feel? I know for myself, when I'm in those moments, like with my husband or when I'm sharing with somebody, I really feel like even if things aren't great right now, even if there's challenges, or even if it's been really tough, it's worth it. I can do it. And I think that God must really hope for that too, right? If there's just a few people who can be like, God, I get you. I understand your love. I understand the challenges you've been through. And I want to do something, right? Even if the world doesn't change tomorrow, I want to do something for you and with you. Then I'm sure that God must also feel like, okay, I can keep going, right? If we're doing this together, we can keep going. It's really where the best parts of life happen, isn't it? When we have somebody we love and who loves us. But even in the people in our life, sometimes come and go. Or maybe they leave this plane, right? Maybe they're not in physical touching distance. Or maybe we have really close friends that we love, but we have to move or they move. But the best and most unchanging relationship is when we can find that connection to God, regardless of who is around. Of course, on the other hand, if we feel disconnected from God and we feel disconnected from the people in our life, and we aren't able to see that God is living in those around us, then how do we feel? I think we can feel dry really quickly, right? Things irritate us easily. It's really difficult to experience and give love when we feel like we're scraping the bottom of the barrel. I feel like as a mom, sometimes I get caught up in all the different things I have to do and all the places I have to be and all the places my kids have to be and all the food that has to be made. And I'm not really pausing to see the God in my husband or the God in my children or to even pray. And I feel like moms have this amazing capacity to give and to give and to give, but there's definitely a limit where I can be doing well all day, but I know I'm like scraping the very last bit of energy and love together. And then one thing happens, and I'm like, that's it. You're putting yourself to bed tonight. I can't do it. Oh, the moms are laughing. You know. So we have, like even moms, we have to be connected to God, right? We only know how to give love because we've received it. I think for all of us, we only know how to love because we've learned how to love from whom? Hopefully from your parents, right? That's the, where is it? I've got another quote later, but that parent-child relationship is really like the closest reflection in physical life as our relationship to God as a parent. And I think because we've received love from our parents, that unconditional love of our moms who kept going no matter how many things had to be done, and the unconditional love of our fathers who wanted to guide us and show us the right direction, and sometimes have to give tough love. Moms have to give tough love too. But that love that we receive, it's like it digs a well for us and fills it up so that we have love to give. But ultimately, that love is that is fed, right? That well is fed by God's love. And I feel like that it's always there, but maybe we have to dig a little deeper to get to the next spring, right? To fill it up. That love is always there, and sometimes we feel like the well is dry, or we feel like I'm not feeling the love. But it's really making those relationships, the connections to open the channel to God's love, which is infinite. If we never want to run out, we have to connect to God. Now I want to share this quote from Corinthians. And this is, I think, one of the most famous quotes in the Bible, and for good reason. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 13. I'm going to read the whole chapter. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now, we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. I could probably do a whole sermon on this whole chapter. But the way it opens, I think maybe some of you know these people who maybe can speak about faith or prophecy things, but there's no evidence of the true love or faith in their life. Doesn't it just sound like a clanging cymbal? Like that's noisy. I don't really want to hear that. And even if we're doing the things that we know we should do, maybe we are giving, maybe we are tithing, maybe we are doing good actions, but if we're not doing it with love, what does it really benefit? And I really feel like this is the description of God's love. Like, we have so many of our own experiences with love. We can come up with our own definition of what love is. But we have to go to the source to understand what love truly is. And the source of love is God. And when God says love is patient, love is kind, does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, these are the ways that God loves us. Do we believe that God's love always protects us and even trusts in us, always perseveres and doesn't fail? God's love doesn't fail us. We may not always see it. Maybe we have to dig a little deeper in the well to get there. But that's God's love. So love is not a result of reading scriptures. Love is really just a result of being loved by the original love. It comes naturally out of a relationship with God, a living relationship with God, the greatest love of all. And this is a fruit that cannot be faked. When we look at those lists, the list of all the fruits of the Spirit, I feel like some of them you could kind of fake. Like maybe you could fake forbearance or patience. Maybe you can even pretend to be joyful or happy. But love is not fakeable. Because love it's something that when it's there, it's like it lights up your heart. And you can't fake something to make somebody's heart light up. The fruits of the Spirit are the natural byproducts of living in relationship with God. And when you are actually in relationship with God, like when you talk to God, when you find God in the people in your life, you just can't deny how loved you are. And when we experience that love, we have a deep well to draw from to give love to others. Now I want to talk a little bit about joy. Dictionary.com's definition of joy is the emotion of great delight or happiness caused by something exceptionally good or satisfying. And I want to share this quote from one of our founders, True Mother, Hak Jahan Moon. Joy cannot be learned by one person alone, but can be experienced only through a relationship with a partner. God created this world in order to feel joy from seeing humankind and all things of creation become one through his love, forming a harmonious and peaceful world of love. And she says, joy cannot be learned by one person alone. And this is actually something that dictionary.com got right. Sorry, I didn't put it on the screen. But the emotion of great delight or happiness caused by something exceptionally good or satisfying. So even dictionary.com gets that there has to be something to relate with to experience joy. But if we were to take this definition just for face value, it would seem that joy is also based on circumstances, right? Caused by something exceptionally good or satisfying. If we were to just take it at face value, we'd have to believe, well, something has to be going really well in my life for me to feel joy. When things are going well, when good things happen, that's when I feel joy. But just like love, joy is not necessarily tied to the circumstances in our life. If you are a person of faith, right? I know that for example, when I feel stressed about circumstances in my life, and I know I don't have control over how things are going to go, but when I take time, like just yesterday, I did a video call with my parents. And I don't often get both of them at the same time. And my dad doesn't usually have his hearing aid in. So if he doesn't have his hearing aid in, I just kind of like wave. And he says something, and I laugh to show that I heard him, and he kind of moves on. But he had his hearing aid in. So I had this like 40-minute conversation with both of my parents. And same thing like if I do this with my sister. It's just like this warm glow that flows to me through those connections and reminds me of my value, of what's important. And even if the things that are happening around me may not inspire me, I can feel joy simply through my relationship of being seen and being known. Just like in the quote from Corinthians, like I am fully known by God. Because ultimately, joy is a fruit of the Spirit, not a fruit of circumstances. If joy is a fruit of the Spirit, then it is a result of our relationship with God. Here's the other quote that I wanted to share. The original foundation of the universe is nothing other than the parent-child relationship. Right? Originally, this relationship between God and all of us as his children, But in our lives, it's most readily seen and observed in our relationship with our own parents. Joy blossoms from this relationship. So the joy and love we experience are ultimately rooted in God. I have this quote here. We should not frown on or lament the environment we see around us, and we should not despair at social injustice. Instead, we should become people who are able to forget our sorrowful hearts with the joy of looking at a single blade of grass growing. Now, this is quite a quote, because it's not easy to forget the challenges in the world. And I'm not saying that we should ignore them or not be aware that people suffer or that we might have things we have to resolve in our life. But sometimes we get so wrapped up in those that we forget that all of life and my existence and the fact that there is grass growing outside is a miracle. That God designed a single blade of grass in such an amazing way to be able to absorb the sunlight and the CO2 from the air, and to provide oxygen for me to breathe, and to provide food for animals that also provide food for me, and that there's DNA in a blade of grass. DNA is so complex, and that even grass that we trample on has been designed with care by God. And if a single blade of grass has this value, right? Grass isn't the only thing that God created. It's like we are surrounded. Everything we are surrounded by is an expression of God's love for us. We're just completely enveloped, practically smothered by God's love all the time. Every breath we take is filled with oxygen that God created to sustain our bodies. And yet, most of the time, we're not even aware of it, right? So, what I want to say is not that we should ignore or pretend that troubles don't exist, but we shouldn't forget how much this relationship with God is here if we are willing to look at it, right? To be aware of it. I had an experience this past Thursday. You know, it was funny, with all the snow we had like 3 snowstorms in a row. And I was like, maybe I'll get a snow day from school. And I have to say, teachers really love snow days too. And Tuesday morning, it's snowing. The roads are covered. People are coming to school late because they can't get through the traffic. But of course, we have school. Wednesdays, again, another snowstorm, crazy weather. People, like somebody didn't even make it to school because the weather was so bad, but we had school. And then Thursday, we had school. Friday, of course, school is canceled, but we don't have school on Fridays, so it didn't do me any good on Friday. But it was interesting because I actually had such a wonderful week at school. I felt like there was a part of me that really just wanted to not have school and could have been really disappointed that I had to be there. I didn't get my free days. But I actually enjoyed these days so much because it was like magical. I realized in some ways it's great for kids to have school on a snowy day because rather than just sledding by themselves at home, they get to be with all their friends and have snow day at school. And the last day of school this week before, as it was pickup time, before everybody went home, one of my learners said, "Miss Adonia, can I throw a snowball at you?" I was like, okay, let me put up my hood and turn my back. And he threw a snowball, and he was like, oh my gosh, Miss Adonia, you're the best. My other teachers would never have let me throw a snowball at them. And so then I threw a snowball at him. And then we had like a 20-minute snowball fight. Everybody, even the parents, started throwing snowballs at the kids and the teachers. And it was like this, out of all of the challenges that didn't disappear, right? No circumstantial challenges went away, and things still had to be worked out. But it was like in that moment, I was able to set that aside and be able to experience this amazing, beautiful day, the amazing, beautiful snow, the amazing, beautiful people that are right in front of me that I have to love. And we were able to share this like really joyful moment together. So this dictionary.com definition: the emotion of great delight or happiness caused by something exceptionally good or satisfying. It's actually so true. It's applicable all the time. If we can realize and recognize that life itself, the world that we live in, the people in our lives, are a blessing. They are everything. Our environment, our people, the air we breathe is exceptionally good and satisfying. And miracles are all around us. So, to bring it all together, the main thing that I want to convey today is that ultimately, when we are focused on our relationship with God and loving those around us, right? When our faith becomes, when the only thing that counts is faith expressed through love and action, then we naturally begin to experience and just exude these fruits of the Spirit, including love and joy. So please join me in prayer. Heavenly Parent, we greet you this beautiful Sunday morning. So grateful to be here together with you and all of your children, and so grateful for our lives. Even if we have circumstances that challenge us or people that challenge us in our lives, I pray that we can really seek to see them from your point of view, that we can dig deep into our relationship with others. Maybe even if we're not feeling the love we want to feel from others, that we can seek to give it and make this connection of heart, to open up the channel to your love in a deeper, broader, more substantial way. God, we know that you love us infinitely, that we are surrounded by all of the evidence of your love for us. And I pray that we can find ways to open ourselves to it, to remember it, to experience it, and that we can experience love and joy in our life, whether or not our circumstances give us evidence of that. And this will truly be the evidence of our relationship with you. This is what will touch other people's hearts. This is what will open up other people to being able to receive your love and joy as well. Thank you so much for your patience with us as we grow into these fruits and as we work towards making them real in our life and sharing them with others. And I offer this prayer in my name, Michael and Adonia Henschrick, blessed your family. Amen, and not you. Okay, thank you so much.